Welcome to the Vented Media Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Dylan, as always with my friend Ben. How you doing, Ben?
Pretty good. Just reveling in the, getting rid of 2020, shedding that and, getting that behind me, so it feels pretty good.
Yep, exactly. 2020 was, like they say, a dumpster fire, just terrible year. It was awful. But as bad as it was, I think there's a lot of good things that came out of it if you really put your mind to it and you just kind of look past the bad.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think, I don't know, it kind of gets my nerves when everyone's like, oh, 2020, what a bad year. Am I right, bros? Just because it's like, okay, yeah, there are bad things that happened, right? Um, to me, at least, that's just kind of showing a little bit of short-sightedness. Um, because as someone who struggles with depression, right? Who
Right,
has in the past looked through everything in the filter of everything sucks, right? I
right.
know for a fact that everything does not suck, and while it may be hard and while you may have to put a little bit of more effort into it, it is possible to look past and just kind of see, oh, yeah, past this kind of like past a storm cloud on the horizon, the sun's still out, the sun's still there, right? And there are still things to be happy about, there are still things to find joyous. Um, yeah, so it, I mean, I've partaken in the whole little, like, 2020, that whole meme, but no, I really do think, at least for me personally, it was a pretty good year. And I'll say it loud and proud. I enjoyed 2020. There were parts that definitely sucked, but there were parts that were just, great. So,
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Thinking back to it, like, I feel like 2020 is definitely one of those years that for a lot of people was a make it or break it year
yep.
where you had to learn who you are and then how are you going to function with the bad and the negative. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I think it was a good learning year for sure. I feel like the past few years, like, I'm not saying people could really coast,
Mm-hmm.
but 2020 really showed us, like when, your feet hit the road, which way you're going to run.
Right. Or are you
And
just gonna like fall flat on your face?
yeah. And I feel like, this year really creatively, I think it kind of shaped my mind in a different way. I was actually, so this past weekend I was in Montana on like a little vacation, just kind of wrapping out, the Christmas season, New Year. And I was thinking back to it, like thinking about like video and
Mm-hmm.
how like 7 months ago I was like, oh, I really want to start figuring out video again and all those things. And I was like, when did I first make my first video? And it was like almost 5 years ago. It was like I helped my sister with a little project that she had for her class. And I remember sitting there thinking about like what I did. And I was like, man, I I stunk. Like
Right.
I'm gonna try and see if I can find that video so I can show you sometime. But it
Yeah.
was terrible. It had terrible music. It had somewhat of a story, but
Mm-hmm.
it was garbage. It was, but like, you know, I remember making it and I was like, yeah, that was pretty good,
Right.
and now I understand better lighting and better audio and better editing and better color grading and just better everything.
Right.
Like, even one thing I remember that I regret terribly is that, we are trying to make it seem like an older movie,
Mm-hmm.
and most cameras that have like the creative picture profiles, not like S-Log or something like that, but like just the weird, cheesy, crappy built-in creative things.
Yeah.
And one of them is like sepia. I shot the entire video in camera in sepia, and like not even realizing that I could change that in post,
Right. Right.
and thinking, oh, sepia, yeah, that's how you do it. You shoot it all in camera. No, you don't do that. You do not do that.
To be
So
fair, in the old days, like with the old black and white movies, they did shoot the black and white affecting camera because that was the capability of the camera.
Right,
So,
but thank goodness we live in 2020 or 2021 now. So
right. Oh my goodness, 2021. I feel old. I scroll through Twitter, right? And all I see is people talking about the price of Bitcoin right now and how it's been like absolutely skyrocketing. And people are like, you should have invested like 8 years ago when this was a big thing. I'm like, sure, I should have invested when I was like 13. Like, all right. So I don't
Right.
know. I'm kind of in this weird paradox where I'm like, I'm 21, right? I live in an apartment with my wife, got a dog, and so we've got our own little family. And so there's a bunch of kind of little things that make me feel older than a lot of my friends, right?
right.
Um, uh, and it's not necessarily that I'm more mature, because like everyone knows I'm still a kid at heart, right?
Right.
Um, but at the same time, it's like, no, I'm still that 21-year-old kid. Uh, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, man. Bitcoin, I just find it so funny that people are like, oh, you should have invested 3 years ago or like 8 years ago. I'm like, I was 13. Oh, I didn't even know what a piggy bank was back then. I had like if I had $5, like it was going out the window immediately.
Right.
I don't know how I got started on that tangent, but I'm gonna kind of switch. I kind of want to share like what I remember my first video being, right?
Right.
Sorry, I'm
Right.
all over the place. I don't think I took my Adderall today, but that's okay. Um, I my first video I remember being creating is a stop motion. I was really into stop motion as a kid. Like I loved Wallace and Gromit. I loved Chicken Run as a kid. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
all of those things kind of interested me. And as a kid, one of the things I'd look up a lot are like the Bionicle stop motion videos. And looking back on them,
Yeah.
they're terrible. They're cheesy, but I loved them. And so that is what I would spend a lot of my time doing. And I think that was my kind of introduction into the video world. I remember specifically doing one with a Lego Harry Potter train set where I wanted to create this illusion of it going through this box as if it was a tunnel. So I just divided the train into chunks and like reassembled and reassembled it as it went through this box. But
Right.
anyways, that's my spiel of nothing. So
I think that like it just shows how far we come.
hmm
Because back then, those were the big things. And I remember, speaking of stop motion, like I thought stop motion was really cool, but especially because I do time lapses.
hmm
That was kind of like my first things I loved to do with my cameras. Take these really high quality photos, convert it into a time lapse, and I'll have to find some, but took time lapses of the Milky Way, or I took time lapses of just a whole bunch of other things, and time lapses, stop motion. I've come a long way in my little
right,
video journey,
yeah,
and I like I think because I first started like a Nikon camera,
hmm
um I it didn't have video.
right,
I had a little point and shoot waterproof camera that had video, and I remember like taking that and taking little itty bitty clips because it could do a little bit of slow motion, not high quality slow motion by any means,
yeah,
but it could do something. And I remember thinking, like, when someone was like, "Oh, your little Nikon camera that you're using, it doesn't really have video. It doesn't have that." I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just use my little point and shoot camera. That's good enough."
hmm
And it goes to show, like, didn't really understand. But then when I really like, my first person I looked up to
hmm
in video was Casey Neistat.
okay,
Um, I don't know if you're super familiar with Casey Neistat, but he had like a daily vlog. That he was
yeah,
like, when you think of people with vloggers with the Gorilla Pod and the Canon, any Canon camera that had like the flip out screen, Casey Neistat is the father of modern day vlogging.
Right.
That GorillaPod with him, that's where that company took off.
Okay.
And there used to be one GorillaPod that was used for GoPros and action cams, and he was putting a 70D on it, which is not a very light camera, especially when he paired it with like a 16 to 35 millimeter lens.
Right.
Yeah, not a very compact, lightweight camera. And so it took them off. But like, I remember coming home from school and just sitting down and watching Casey Neistat. And I bought my first video camera, the Canon T5i, because it had the flip out touch screen. And I was thinking, I was going to start vlogging, and I have like the little video micro. And so I'd plug that in, and I could like listen to myself, and I can look at myself. And, it was cool stuff.
Right.
But that, like, he was the one where I was like, I could really do video. And even there's a guy in my drama class, not in my like year, like my graduating year, he had been there a few years previous, but his name was like Dusty Hewlett. I'm pretty positive.
Okay.
And like he's gone on, he's done little documentaries, he's done little films, he's awesome. And him and another guy, like, they were coming back because his friend now, the main reason they're back is he was a comedian. He was okay. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. But I remember they were coming in there talking about it. And, I turned around and, while Dusty, he really wasn't saying much because he wasn't the actor. He wasn't the thing like that. I turned around and he was pulling out like a camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude, you're a photographer? He goes, well, yeah, I do photography, but I actually have really gotten into video. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, do you have your phone? And I like looked up on my phone like a couple of his videos, and he shot them all on the Canon 5D Mark II, which, if people understand the modern day like DSLR video, the Canon 5D Mark II is the camera where everything changed.
Right.
That was the one. Like, they've used, that camera was used in House, the TV show House.
Oh, really?
With the yep, in one of it was in their final seasons. There's one episode where they're like down in like a rubble ruins, like there was some kind of explosion or some kind of natural disaster where they go down. That almost that entire episode was shot on the Canon 5D Mark II.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And, it was like, I'm just looking at that, I'm like, whoa, I think of like movies, and he's like explaining it to me. And the more I learned, I'm like, wow, like these cameras, they can do a lot more than I think they can do.
Yeah.
And thinking back to now what our cameras can do right now, it's awesome. It's awesome. But,
yeah,
those people like inspired me to really like Dusty Hewlett and Casey Neistat were the two people that really like, I could really do video.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So man. That's awesome. So we're kind of talking a little bit about like, gonna segue here, and I feel like this is a solid segue. Talking about like where we've come from. Where do we want to go this next year? Like, what are your goals and aspirations?
You're right. This is what we want to talk about today. My goals personally, this upcoming semester, I'm off. And so, one thing for me, I do cabinets, and as great as cabinets is, it's not what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
I've done it since I was a little kid. My dad had his own cabinet shop, and, I really want to push hard in these next upcoming months in getting myself off the ground and possibly end up, one, we're going to be working on Witch Hunt.
Yep.
But, besides that, you and me are going to work together on a few projects and whatnot. But I would really like getting into the actual, whether I'm making commercials or making small little mini things like I know someone who's already reached out to me who wants me to collab with them on making a dance video.
Nice.
So, I want to practice making stupid little like movie shorts, or not really movie shorts, but like cinematic music video things, just really dialing in my skills so that I can actually create a reel for myself. That someone's like, here, I want to see some things that you've made. Here you go. This is some things I've done. That's kind of what I want to do. And you kind of looking at my upcoming months, I have 3 months really where I can just dial in, and it's it's going to stink. It's it's a little bit snowy outside because we're in Idaho, but I'm going to work with that limitation. And if that means I have to learn inside lighting, if that means I have to learn all these other little things, then so be it.
Right.
But I can't look at that and say, oh, I can't do that because it's snowy outside. There's not too many video projects that a lot of people do that, they worry about being outside.
Right.
You have to figure out how to do inside lighting, working with people, getting my business license all up to par.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm going to start with, the business license, getting that all set up, working on making my reel, and then getting ready for Witch Hunt with you.
Yeah.
That's like my upcoming 3 months. And by the end of the year, this is like an end goal. And, those are my first 3 months. So I'll do like a recap after those 3 months and figure out the next couple months.
Right.
But by the end of the year, I would love to be out of the cabinet business.
Yeah.
That is my thing, whether I'm working for someone else under the video department, or if I could work for myself and make it work, that would be amazing.
Right.
But, it's going to take some work. It's going to take some major commitment.
Yeah.
But I think that is my video creator goal.
Yeah. I dig it. I dig it. That's like, it's going to be hard, but it's achievable, So best of luck to you in that. Yeah, where I'm headed, we've got Witch Hunt, and we want to get that done. And yeah, I am super stoked. I think I'm going to send out another kind of reminder out on like Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot, just to let people know that we are still looking for actors. We've had a couple of people audition already, but, we'd like to have a choice of people we pull from, though the auditions that I have seen have been pretty dang good so far. And so I have been really impressed. But I want to shoot Witch Hunt, and I want that to, I can't honestly say, cause I don't know how far we're going to get into it by the end of the year. Right. I expect we're going to get into the post-production phase by the end of the year. Because the way we've got it planned out is, what is it? We've kind of like planned for shooting takes about, 5 pages a day. It's, about 100 pages of script. Is it 100 pages of script? I don't know. I don't remember. I think it's more. No, it's 50. It's 50 to 60 because it's about an hour long. That's it. And like, so what does that mean? 5 pages. We're looking at like 10 to 12 days of shooting, over like 2-day weekends. So like 6 or more weeks of shooting. But then, we get in the post process, and there's going to be VFX that I'm going to be doing. And I found someone who is willing to do music for us. And so there's a bunch of things that are going to go into the post-production. And I just don't know how long that's going to take. Right.
Right.
But kind of my goal is, in preparation for that, I want to just start practicing VFX. Right. And I've been doing a lot of modeling. I've been doing a lot of like practice and like setting up basic models and assets. Right. But I really want to work on my compositing skills and my planning a shot like from start to finish, so that I can go into the script and be like, okay, in this scene, we've got our main character, except a dragon swoops down and picks him up, right? Which doesn't happen to the main character, but does happen to one of the characters. It's a little ambitious, I know, but we're gonna roll with it.
Right.
And I did put one of my VFX tests on YouTube, on our channel, which I was really proud of how that turned out. And so I basically want to do 1 or 2 of those a month. Just short little clips where I plan it out. I say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. This is how I'm going to accomplish it in setting it up with pre-production, and basically kind of planning meticulously, like, these are the things I need to look out for and plan for. Shoot it, edit it, all within a month or 2 weeks. And that's my kind of goal going into this project, along with creating a comprehensive shot list that we can kind of go in, create a storyboard, and just kind of know better as we go into Witch Hunt, we want some apocalyptic buildings in the desert. Well, this is what we need to do to plan for that. So those are kind of my goals. I like breaking up my goals into like long-term and short term. So long-term, Witch Hunt. That's my long-term goal. Probably won't be finished by the end of the year, but I mean, based on the progress that has already been made on it, I'm super excited to see the progress that is made this year. And so the short term is just kind of those practicing the VFX, and I can break that up even further and be like, all right, this is the first one I want to do, but I haven't planned that far yet. So.
Right. I think, Witch Hunt is definitely going to be our big project for the year, obviously. It's definitely going to be one of the more technically challenging things that we're probably going to make.
Yeah.
At this stage of where we're at. Like from you learning CGI.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going to be trying to see if I can get my hands on some kind of small portable cinema camera. I've recently been looking at something like the Z-Cam and, something like that, just because it's a great budget camera that can, do RAW, and it can do 10-bit, and it can do 4K up to 160 frames a second.
Right.
And, that sounds pretty appealing to me. Just as a fact, as well as that Z-Cam, a little, or not just Z-Cam, but another little company kind of off to the side has made a mount that can put my E-mount lenses on for my Sony cameras.
Right.
And to me, that is very exciting, just for the fact of I can use lenses that I already have, and that would save us money from the fact of, like, while we could use our vintage lenses, obviously, being able to use, if we wanted to, slightly sharper lenses or lenses with autofocus, if we have a scene where we could easily use autofocus,
right,
that to me would mean a lot. And so, like, if we're trying to do like a running scene, it's really hard to follow focus, especially, and we don't even have a good follow focus setup yet.
Right. And
so
I know at least I probably won't for a long while. So
yeah, like the most budget follow focus set is the Tilta Nucleus, and it's a Bluetooth follow focus that can go onto your camera, and that thing still runs for about $300.
That's insane.
And that's a basic, not beginner, but you hear the voice crack of, like, for being a follow focus and the capabilities, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But you can get a follow focus for one single person for $40 if need be. And so, but if we're trying, I think if we were to do it right, we would have a way to connect a little transmitter receiver to like because you can connect your phone and use that as a monitor for the Zcam.
Oh, neat.
But yeah, exactly. So we could literally make a small little cheese plate system where we'd hook on the one side where you'd control it, hook on the other side to the camera, and then you could use the monitor. And it's actually crazy because it's got very low latency,
Right.
so you can keep up on it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But you know, it's definitely like it's still a purchase that
Yeah.
it's a purchase. It's
Exactly.
a purchase.
Exactly. And a lot of those things are investments, which I don't know. I don't know. Like there's things that we need for Witch Hunt, right?
Right.
Good audio is going to be one of them, right? Because
Right.
right now we do have access to good cameras, right? Like
Right.
our cameras
Yep.
are good enough, our lenses are good enough,
Right.
and the microphones we have. I mean, this is a little studio microphone, but I wouldn't trust taking this thing into the desert, right?
Right.
Plus, it's like not even a shotgun microphone, so it's not the right type of polar pattern, none of that stuff. So, you know, there are things that we do need to get in preparation, but personally, it's like, is that necessary for what we need to do right now? You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
What was I gonna say? I had something I was gonna say, and then I just kind of lost my train of thought. Microphone, camera, Witch Hunt. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Lighting is that definitely
Lighting, yeah, for sure.
got-
But
Yeah.
you've already kind of invested pretty heavily into that.
yeah, I'm starting to get more. I'm starting to figure out more stuff for lighting and whatnot, especially still on the budget. What can we work with? You know, I've been looking at, you know, one thing that, you know, something that we could more easily do is, you know, like a lot of people, indie filmmakers, they use those paper lantern balls.
Right.
You know, we could make a couple of those for $30, you know,
Yeah.
like,
I remember what I was gonna say now. Okay, finish what you were saying first.
but you know, no, like you're right. We do in the next couple months, we're really going to break down what we truly need for Witch Hunt, because with that in mind, then we could say, man, it would be really nice for us to possibly drop a little bit of cash onto something. Who knows
Right.
what that is?
Right.
You know, even if it's a second light, which I'm not saying I'm kind of already looking at something like that, but you know, we'll talk about a light in a little bit that I think is kind of cool as like a budget light. But you know, it's just we're in that stage now where we're going to start looking at different options for different budget filmmaking necessities, you know.
Right.
So we're going to be playing around. We're going to be figuring out what we got and what we're going to need.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking we could make though, is a green screen set, right? That we
Yeah.
can maybe take into a church gymnasium or something and set up there. And because there's a couple of scenes that we've got planned where, you know, we can just film them out in the desert. We can film them in an interior. But there's some that we just don't have the access to the kind of interior that we would like, right?
Right.
And so, I don't know, I kind of have this idea of building this PVC frame, right? That's 8 by 8 by 8 on all three corners, right? So you can take apart and reassemble these like little PVC things and then have 3 sheets of like 8 square foot green fabric and have them. My wife's got a sewing machine, and so we could, you know, sew them or Velcro them so that they just loop on to the little PVC pipes. You know, like just slide on. And you set that up. Maybe be like a 10-15 minute setup time and takedown time in the production day, right? Maybe cost anywhere from like $30 to $50 to make. But then
Right.
we've got a full 3D set where we could have like full shots of people, standing in these CG environments instead of just, having one wall of green screen where we're limited to like shoulder up. You know what I mean? Or like cutting them off in weird places. So that's an idea I kind of want to play around with. It would be a little bit of construction, but I'm fine with that. I have fun with that. And I mean, you're trying to get away from it, but
No,
I'm sure.
I'm not. I wouldn't say get away from it. I definitely think that especially with CGI and green screen and things like that, it will definitely, because that aspect of my filming I've never done. I've never tried making a green screen from one personal things. I
Right.
feel like we could possibly make a green screen out of like really good canvas, which would be awesome. But definitely I'm not nervous, but I am, because it is uncharted territory. It is something where you really have to be very conscientious of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it,
Right.
and on my side, how will me lighting something affect the scene of the person,
Right.
So I just have like not basic concerns, but
No, and that makes sense, right? And that's why I want to
not,
do.
yeah,
That's why I want
yeah,
to do a lot of planning right now, right?
right,
Is so that
exactly.
when we go on to set, like those questions will be right there in a little binder, right? And then and there's always going to be problems that pop up. That's just the way it is, right?
Right.
But no. So I'm working on like getting a lot of those things kind of answered in the most comprehensible, is that the word I'm looking for? Comprehensive, I don't know, in the most
Something.
comprehensive like way possible, so
Right.
it's like that's something I am thinking about.
Yeah, and I know you're thinking about all those things as well. Just we're starting to get into that territory where it's going to become a little uncharted.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a fun. I'm not even like an exercise because we really want to do well with this, but this film and this little series, for Witch Hunt, this is going to be like the start of hopefully some kind of career where
Right.
people can say, wow, look at what these guys did using their simple cameras, as well as, for us to say, wow, look at what we did. Let's try something like a step up.
Right.
So, no, I think it's very exciting. I think it's very, it's ambitious, and I feel like that's a good thing to have, especially come to say that you want to do, because that's the other thing. It's not like we're coming out of like a really high slope of now let's try this. Like we're coming out of 2020 into 2021
Right.
with this goal that could be a career game changer.
Uh, Not even like a career game changer, but even if it's just something that I can put on my resume, right? I will
Right.
be happy
Yep.
with it. Just something I
Yeah.
can show a future employer. And the dream job would be working for myself,
Right.
right?
100%. 100%.
But even if it's something that I can just put onto an employer or like even show a client, right? That's going to be good enough for me, So
Yep. Yep. I 100% agree. Oh, man. No. Fun stuff. Witch Hunt. It's going to be good. I'm excited for it.
yeah.
And, I think in this next couple months, while we both have, because you're not taking any classes this semester,
No,
right?
I'm not.
I think during these next couple weeks and months, we're going to be working very extensively on preparation for this, because this is going to be, while it is going to be a little bit more in the summertime, we are going to really start cracking into it, because if we don't have the good amounts of practice beforehand, people aren't really going to trust us
Yeah.
when the final day comes up.
Yep.
So no, I 100% agree. But yeah, no, Witch Hunt is coming. It's coming, and it's coming quick.
Yeah, it is.
So-
Isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
oh wow.
It's not too long away. So, but yeah, dude. But honestly, like everyone, this is kind of like this isn't a crazy week for us. I mean, we have been doing this for 35 minutes right now. We just have a small little video news thing that we could have covered a few weeks ago when we were talking about the Aputure 600D. My bad. I didn't finish watching the end of the because on YouTube, the people from Aputure, they had like a giant live stream talking about this. They brought in a whole bunch of different people talking about lights and audio, and it was awesome. But it was 7 hours long.
Right.
And so, I watched as much of it as I could and I left, but I didn't watch the last like 45 minutes of it. And so in that same live stream, they kept on saying, oh, keep waiting. You're going to hear something from us for those who are really still wanting to be in the market for lights, but don't really have, $2,000 to spend on this 600D. Well, at the very end, they announced the Aputure Amaran 100D, 200D, and the 200X, I believe. And I heard about this after the fact. I'm like, wait, what? And I went back and rewatched that last little bit, trying to learn about them. And these lights are from basically Aputure's side company called Amaran. And actually, this little light right here that I have, this is the Amaran F7, I believe. It's just a simple little bicolored light. I love it. I actually used it to light myself for the first few weeks while we were starting the podcast. But, it's a great little light. I truly loved it. It had USB-C powering. I could plug it in with the DC 10 amp little power light, but I could also power it with my little Sony MPF battery. So, I mean, it was very versatile, very small, lightweight. I could put it on a tripod, put it on a light stand. Awesome. Perfect. But, Aputure kind of had like these little Amaran lights as like little budget throw lights, basically, where you could put them in little small spaces, compared to like an actual like Aputure 120D.
Right.
Well, since Aputure has always been forward thinking of bringing lights into the common, and not common like the common man, like, oh, the poor people, but like the very budget filmmakers.
Right.
Recently, they just created the 100, the 200, and the 200X lights, and they are actually awesome. From listening to the rest of the live stream, they're actually when they put on the different modifiers, they can be comparable to, the 100D can be comparable to the 120D. The 200D can actually be somewhat comparable to the 300D. And when I was hearing this, I was like, whoa, because the 100D, the Amaran 100D, is $199.
That's pretty good for a quality light.
Yes, very quality. And the 200D is $299, as well as the 200X. And the 200X is a bicolor light, actually. So you can have your tungsten or your 300 Kelvin or 3200 Kelvin, or up to the 5600 Kelvin, which is daylight, which is what I'm currently using on my Godox.
Right.
And also the 100D or the 120D and the 300D. And so these lights are crazy. Also, they did it so that it's all one housing. If you've ever seen like a 120D or 300D or even my Godox lights, they actually have a power like brick almost where you control all of the lights. Well, they actually designed this light so that it actually had everything on the back of the light itself.
Oh, nice.
And so you'd look at the back of the light and you could change it all right there instead of going to a little box. But also because they put it all basically internal on the main head, it removed some of the little danglers from the actual light stand, so you didn't have a big old clunky box and then another clunky box that was your converter. It all basically went from the converter basically into light, and you could just control it from the light. You could control it from your phone. You can control, yeah, crazy. It also has like built-in lighting features, like it has the paparazzi, it has the pulse, it has some of the exact same features from the 600D. And the 600D is $1,800 compared to a $200 and a $300 light.
Right.
And now, like, you know, I bought my Godox 150 VL 150. Sorry, I blanked out for a sec. I bought it for about $350.
Right.
You know, had I'd waited 2 months, not saying I regret this light. I love this light.
Yeah.
It's perfect, and it'll fit probably my needs for a long time. But you know, had I waited 2 months, I could have gotten a light that was $50 cheaper,
Yeah.
and it would have been brighter, which is like, you know, like,
Well, that's always the name of the game. Is as things develop, there's always going to be something that comes out. There's always going to be a shiny new toy. Which, you know, having built a PC, you know, I kind of had to think about that while I was building my PC, graphics card wise, right? So,
Right.
When I built it, the 2000 series, NVIDIA 2000, that's what all the hype was about, because, you know, they had ray tracing, and that was kind of the best of the best. But
Right.
NVIDIA 3000 is out now, and it is absolutely kicking butts and taking names in every department imaginable for some really good prices too. And that's
Yeah.
like, I say really good prices. I mean, they're still in the multiple hundreds of dollars range, but for the power you're getting compared to what you had to pay with the last generation, it's insane. So what I ended up doing is I ended up going with like a first generation, like GTX 1660, which was cheaper, so that I would have room, and I didn't invest in like a $700 graphics card that was going to be obsolete within a couple of months, you know?
Right.
And you know, there's just always going to be a shiny new toy, but sometimes you just got to work with what you got and just kind of like commit, you know?
Yeah. I look at things all the time and see, and, you know, it's actually funny. So when I was, we haven't done this podcast for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, it's been a fat minute.
It has been a fat minute. So 2 weeks ago I was in Arizona, and, you know, I was listening to, because, you know, me, I kind of butt my nose into things, you know, because I am the gearhead. I like gear. I like talking about gear. I like seeing all the different specs of what's coming out. And I actually helped someone who was getting into video, and actually he might be listening to this episode.
Nice.
Yep, because I was in a camera store, and there was an amazing camera store down there in just right outside of, not Phoenix, right outside of Chandler, Arizona. And it was awesome. It was super, like, tons of cameras, tons of video stuff, like, if I lived there, dude, it would be a bad deal for me.
Right.
It had tons of lights, tons of tripods, like video, photo, you name it. It had stuff from Fujifilm, Sony, Canon, Nikon. It had the works. Okay.
Right.
Besides the point, I'm in there. I'm looking at asking questions about gear and whatnot. And this guy, he was looking for a camera, and the person at the store, he was going to sell him like a Canon Rebel T7i, great camera. But this guy, from listening to him, he was trying to get into dance videos.
Yeah.
And, you know, the T7i only has 1080p at 60 frames a second, which is fine. I think it's a great camera. But, you know, from the way that he was talking, it sounded like, you know, maybe he wanted 4K and he wanted something a little bit better, but he also wants something with like he also maybe won like a gimbal. And so the guy's like, I'm trying to be under this price, but the T7i is maybe 850,
Right.
and it probably didn't have all the features that he really wanted or needed, especially wanting to do video. And so, I butted my nose in, and, when we did our one Black Friday episode, like the budget gear, I knew that the Panasonic G7 was on sale for $497.
Right.
And so I actually like, dude, if you're actually trying to get into video, I'd recommend this camera. And he goes, what? And I explained it all to him. I explained that it had 4K. I explained that it had 1080p at 60 frames a second. Explained all of that. Told him a few basics about video. I actually gave a shout out for our podcast and whatnot. So, hopefully he's listening to this week. It was going back to what you're saying about the new shiny thing. While the G7 is not a new shiny thing, it was very much what he needed at the time. But then also from the money that he saved, he actually bought, and I know, kind of biting my tongue, for dance videos, you do need something a little bit more stable, and handheld video really isn't what you're wanting for dance videos. And so I actually recommended to him my gimbal, the Zion Weeble S, and it was still under the price of that Canon camera.
Yeah.
And so, while it wasn't the biggest, shiniest camera, he got the camera and he loves it.
That's good.
I actually reached out to him over Instagram, like, hey, did it come in? And he's like, yeah, dude, it's sweet. I got the gimbal coming. I got all this coming. And I checked 2 days ago, and it actually increased $100. It went back up to the normal price.
Oh, wow.
So we got it right at the right time for him. And so,
Nice.
I mean, I agree. While you do want the new shiny thing, recently I've somehow stumbled onto that part of YouTube where people are like, is this camera still going to be good for 2021? Is this camera still going to be good for 2021? And, the camera that I shoot is the Sony a7 III. And I want something like the Sony a7S III, especially getting more into video. But, me and Ben were talking just before this about the cameras and the gear and things that we have and how it's still so good.
Yeah.
We can do a lot with our cameras. And so, it comes down to what our needs are. And I feel like that's overall the best thing that you can have when you're looking at gear. What are your needs? And if it doesn't fit your needs, don't get it. Hold off. Wait and get what you need eventually. Even if it means you have to save up a little bit more, wait. Because if you just throw the money at something just because you're like, oh, it's the newest, fanciest thing, but you haven't used the stuff that you have to the fullest, or you haven't really taken the time to learn what you have, you are going to lose out on quality that you didn't know you already had.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that full-heartedly. I was scrolling through Reddit and I saw something on like this videography Reddit page where it was just, something that someone made of like, I think it was their girlfriend dancing on a beach, right? And they filmed it with their iPhone like 6, I think. And to me, it was beautiful, and it was Reddit, so there were just people like trying to critique and trying to like sound as big brained as they could.
Right.
But for me, it was a testament of like what you could do when you know the art of filmmaking, right? As you can know like every, like when it comes to painting, you can know like every color, you can know like the specifications of every brush. But like it's the art that's really gonna set you apart, and I don't know, I mean, you can make art with whatever tools you got, and just work with what you got. It's it's yeah. I don't know where I'm going with that. I just
No, I think honestly, like, you got to make it with what you got. You know, like, I one person, so in our video class, one, last semester, when they were talking about, we watched some of our video presentations, and I remember when I showed mine, most of the stuff I shot on the A7 III,
right,
and it's a great camera, especially when I pair it with my 35 millimeter f1.4. The bokeh blows it out.
right.
It looks so, like, not trying to overuse the term cinematic, because I hear that term all the time on YouTube, like, oh, if you're trying to get a cinematic video, this is what you do. But it does create a different quality and a different look that I feel like we compare with cinema, with movies.
Right.
And every single time I'd like show something, someone would say, oh, Dylan, I really want your camera. They'd like message me like privately, like, oh, dude, I really want your camera. It looks so good. I really want your camera. And so once I actually got my Sony A6400, which is it's an APS-C camera. It's not full frame like my Sony A7 III. It's actually, like, I've been doing a lot of research into movies, and most movies up until probably like the year like 2013, actually, I'd probably even take that back, probably up until like 2015, were using Super 5 or Super 35 millimeter cameras.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like, I was watching Avengers Age of Ultron the other night.
Yeah.
And I, got curious, like, oh, what cameras were used to film this? And they were using cameras that were shooting basically APS-C Super 35, just like my Sony A7 or A6400.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I was like, whoa, like, and if they're using APS-C for movies, while there are a few different things like raw capability and all those different jazzy terms, if they can do that and create Hollywood movies, what would stop me from, making my class presentation with Super 35,
Right.
from my 6400? And so once I got this camera, I actually basically stopped using my A7 III, just so people couldn't say, oh, if only I had a $2,000 camera. I went from a $2,000, or basically with my lens on it, I went from basically like a $3,000 setup or $3,500 setup, depending on what I was putting on it,
Right.
to basically an $800 setup. You couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
And so, and one that comes down with experience and all these other things. But, it's crazy. It really surprises me just how much we use the if only I had that.
Yeah. And I fall victim to it all the freaking time. Like,
Same.
like it's such a dangerous trap to fall into, because it's no, what was it? I was saying to my wife, which, been quoted for generations. It's like, look, I'm still a kid. My toys are just getting more expensive, especially around Christmas time. And
Right.
yeah, so I fall into that little want trap all the time. But it's like, just learning with what we got. It's yeah, it's what's gonna hopefully, right, it'll set us apart. But we'll actually see if that does when we get to creating stuff and actually have a little bit of a resume under our belts. Hopefully it'll set us apart. We'll see though.
Yeah, I hope so. I truly hope so. Like I said, I really want in these next couple months really to make a reel for myself.
Yeah.
To whether it's, preparing for Witch Hunt, or, going and asking a restaurant, hey, I trying to make a video. Can I record this, or can I come back after hours and record you guys making something? I want to make, I want to make more content to show people this is what I can do. And while will it probably take a little bit of time and effort to really get people to like a lot of effort to get people interested, it will. It truly will. But I do want to stand out. I want to be the person that people are like, wow, like he went above and beyond to get to where he's at.
Right. Yeah.
And so
yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but we can do it. Heck yeah.
we can do it. Yeah.
What is that thing? Like, what is it called when you just believe in something so hard it comes true? That there's a term for it.
Placebo effect.
It's not that. It's like, I don't know. Realization or something like that. That's what we're going to do. We're going to self-realize until we come good.
Yeah. No, I fake it till you make it. Just kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we wrap up?
Yeah, dude. Thank you everyone for tuning in for this week. We are going to try and get back to the normal once a week podcast. You know, it's just crazy. The holiday season came in and just really made us, you know, not lazy with it, but you know, holiday season just got crazy.
Yeah.
I was out of town 2 weeks in a row, like out of state 2 weeks in a row. And you know, people could be like, well, you made a video on YouTube about travel podcasts, so what's the big deal, you know? Like, but
it gets
you know,
busy. It gets busy, and we were
gets
trying
busy.
to focus on family, so come on, give us a break.
yeah, give us a break. But so we are going to be once again coming back to the normal broadcasting time. I don't know how you said the normal schedule.
Yeah.
But once again, for you guys who are listening, please follow us on Spotify, follow us on Anchor, follow us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcasting service you are listening to us on. We really do appreciate it. I still all the time look at, you know, our analytics and I see you guys. And, you know, the other day, I think I saw someone from like Australia and someone from, I can't remember where, I think it was like Europe somewhere.
Oh, nice.
But I saw it, I'm like, heck yeah, that makes me feel awesome. And like, so no, we really do look and we do see what you guys are doing, how you guys are taking it. We are looking for critiques all the time. But you know, we really do appreciate, oh yeah, the United Kingdom.
Nice.
So wherever
that may have
whoever's
been one of my family. So I got family
It
in
could
the UK,
be.
so that's
Hey, Ben's family, share us over there in the UK. We're gonna become the best video budget podcast out there. But you know, follow us on YouTube. We are going to put this up on to the YouTube channel. The previous week there were just like some weird minor complications.
Oh, I have no idea what that
but-
was about. Yeah, it just freaking my video editor DaVinci Resolve just kind of decided that it's like, hey, I'm gonna render this without any sound, and I would go in and just kind of like try and realign things. Wouldn't work, so I was like, you know what? I'm not redoing this. I'm just calling it good. Big kind of like lazy L on my part, but whatever. I'll get it this week.
So yeah, sometimes it just hits like that, but you know, so we are going to put this episode up on the YouTube. Go subscribe to that. We are Vented Media. Follow us on Twitter
It's at Vented M, I believe.
At Vented M. Instagram is Vented Media.
Yeah.
I believe. So we're still getting everything all dialed in, figuring out all the jazzy stuff. But everyone, thank you so much for your support. We're going into 2021. Let's make this a great year. Set some goals, figure out what you want to do, and let's really make the most of 2021.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you later.
Talk to you later.